Over here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran Kareem mentions a very comprehensive way of life, a very comprehensive ayah. Many mufassirun say this is ajma' ayah fil Quran fi makarim al-akhlaq, the most comprehensive ayah when it comes to good character. That anyone who looks towards and is introduced to an idea, an ideology, an understanding, people look, number one, for a face to that how practical it is, where is this implemented? And then that being that person where it's implemented or who is implementing it, people will firstly look at that individual's character. No matter how nice of a theology, of a theory, of an idea you bring, if a person cannot stand by it himself, then people won't really care for it. People always look at where is this being embodied. You can write the most poetic, lines on character, but if that poet himself, if a person can't stand 2 minutes with that person, if you can't sit with him for 5 minutes, you can't have a decent conversation with that person, it doesn't matter what you have on paper, what you're saying, no one will really care for that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, His Anbiya alayhimu salatu wassalam, the Anbiya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, were always the pinnacle and the best example when it came to character. And people always accepted and so to say liked the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a person even before nubuwah. There were always people who you could sit with, you can always talk to them, you can approach them, you can engage with them. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَىٰ خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. The Quran Kareem itself gives shahada and testimony that the Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is upon the highest pedestal of akhlaq, خُلُقٍ عَظِيم, good character. So this becomes extremely important when it comes to da'wah as well. That what a person calls towards, it's very important that they embody that in their own lives. So over here, three comprehensive sifat or qualities have been mentioned. Number one, خُذِ الْعَفْوَ. The Rasul of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being told, guided, instructed, that adopt the way of afu. Afu over here, Mufassirun explain in two ways. One is that take matters easily with people. Be a little easy and accommodating for people. For example, Mufassir give this example as well, that if you've been instructed towards salah being that a person puts everything behind him and he engages and concentrates upon the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the hamd and thana of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now there is obviously levels of this. The highest levels of khushu or khudu, concentration, dedication, a person is engaged in that salah. So there are many levels of this. So now out of the many Muslims in the world, how many are able to pray salah at that highest level? So the Rasul is being instructed that don't only accept that those people who can only perform over here, that you engage with them, that you accept from them. Those that are unable to come to this level, that you do not accept what they have to offer. So what you should bring people toward, yes, there is obviously a tarbiyah and tadrij, and slowly there is a graduation towards that. A person is always trying to advance and become better. That's in its place. But to say that it's either that you perform over here or we don't accept from you, that shouldn't be the case. Everyone has their own kind of stage and their pace that they are moving at, and when it comes, as long as the fara'id and the obligations and the mandatory acts, as long as that is there, that will be something which is accepted. What's beyond that, above that, then you work with them. Then you work with them, and this is part of the tarbiyah, that you should allow them to grow as well. So this idea, this notion that until people are perfect, or only that is which is perfection, and only those that perform at the highest level, that is what we accept, and anything and anyone besides that is not acceptable. This is not from the prophetic teachings. That's one, خُذِ الْعَفْوَ. The other is that in your engagement with people, inevitably, there will be people who may not recognize your own maqam, your position. People may not understand, may not be able to fulfill your rights correctly. In fact, they may violate your rights as well. But when someone does that and they seek your pardon, then you should readily accept their apology, and you should forgive them. So adopt the way of pardoning others. This is also from the sifat of the Anbiya alayhimu salatu wasalam. The other day we read Surah Yusuf. Imagine the dhulm and the injustice the brothers of Yusuf had committed upon him, that a child, a sinless child, ma'soom what we call, at that age, Yusuf wasn't even baligh and was not an adult at the time. They left him in a well, and what kind of trials and tribulations after that Yusuf went through. But when everything was said and done, and when finally his brothers came, and then he exposed to them that he was Yusuf, so what did Yusuf say to them? لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين. There will be no blame upon you. I won't take you to task for it. I'm not going to take my revenge now. In fact, يغفر الله لكم, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pardon you. From my side, I've already pardoned. What's left is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sin that you did, the wrong that you did, you've wronged me. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pardons from His side, then that's from Allah. يغفر الله لكم. He's making dua for them as well on top of that. In fact, He puts it on shaitan. بعد نزغ الشيطان بيني وبين إخوتي. The dumpster of the ummah we call shaitan. Throw it onto him. I'm not even putting the blame on you. It was probably shaitan. Shaitan is the one that caused this jealousy between us. Shaitan is the one that caused all of this problem. So he puts it onto shaitan. He doesn't even say that it was you. What was wrong with you? Your islah is not. All of these things may have been in their own place. So خذ العفو. Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, at the time of Fathu Makkah, at the time of the conquest of Makkah, someone called out, لا قريش بعد اليوم. After today, there should be no Quraysh. What they did to the mushrikun amongst them, obviously. What they did and the problems they gave Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, his family, his closest friends, everyone. Any form of difficulty you can think of, physical, emotional, psychological, all forms of difficulty and hardship that Rasulullah subhanahu wa ta'ala endured. They made him leave his city. They made him leave his hometown. All of these things. So someone called out, made this announcement. Rasulullah, what did he say? He says, "Man dakhala darahu fahuwa amin, man dakhala al-haram fahuwa amin, man dakhala dar Abi Sufyan fahuwa amin." General amnesty to practically anyone and everyone who wants it. Anyone that wants to be safe, we will give them their safety and amnesty. We won't shed blood. We will pardon all of this. Anything that happened behind, whatever happened before that, we'll pardon all of that. What's the hikmah in this? That in droves people accepted Islam at that moment. And has happened before that as well. So خُذِ الْعَفْوَ, take the way of pardoning. وَأْمُرْ بِالْعُرْفِ, what do you command people towards? What is deen? What is Islam about? Islam is about ma'ruf. Ma'ruf meaning goodness. Urf, ma'ruf over here is the same. That enjoying what is good, what is right. And this idea of a general, the general good that each person, the fitrah of a human being, recognizes. That's what Islam is about. As we've said before, Islam doesn't bring anything which is kind of unknown to people. Ma'ruf in Arabic is also used for what it can be recognizable. Anything which is recognizable, which is recognized, we say that's a ma'ruf. The opposite, majhul, something which is uncommon, which is not recognizable. Meaning good things are something that as long as a person has what we call tabi'a salima, has a natural disposition, he's a normal person, he hasn't been corrupted by society and other factors in and around him, then that person will recognize this thing to be good. That's what Islam is about. The teachings of Islam were always those that attracted people towards it. As long as they were, their nature, they were of sound disposition. Yes, where there was fasad and corruption in people, and then they find that their own endeavors, worldly endeavors, and their manipulation of people and things are jeopardized, then they would stand up obviously against Islam. But that's why the da'wah of every Nabi, the first people to accept it were who? The du'afa, the weak people, the mazlumeen, the unjust, because they see right for right, good for good. Those that, yes, they were the ones that were pulling the strings on top, they see that, oh, over here, this is endangering our manipulation of people. This is endangering our power. This is endangering, how we abuse the system. But all of those that were, being abused, they were always readily accepting Islam. And that continues. This continues throughout the world. That those that are what we may call simple people, they are the first ones who will answer the da'wah of the Anbiya. وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Inevitably, there will be those people, as we explained, some are just ignorant, jahil in the sense, that doesn't mean that someone who doesn't go through an education system, someone who doesn't have a particular degree, that's not what jahil is. The ignorant, the belligerent people, those that continue to refuse to accept those things that are correct, those that will continue to oppose the way of haqq and truth, as it comes into sifat and qualities of Ibadur Rahman in Surah Furqan, that how do the Ibadur Rahman deal with such people? That they just say salam to them. They don't engage with them, they don't continue bickering with them. Why? Because the individual does not want to accept the truth. So أَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ. Turn away from them, you don't have to engage with them, and you just say salam to them and you move on with your own da'wah. We make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us understanding of the Quran and Sunnah.